Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ted, can you please do the roll call?
Supervisor Craig.
Here.
Supervisor Thorne.
Here.
Chairman Shaler.
Here.
Supervisor Bromer.
Here.
And Supervisor Wolford.
Here. First item on the agenda will be citizens' concerns. Anyone here wishes to address the town board? I suggest a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mitch and a second by Kelsey. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Who wants to start? No, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Really? Right.
Yeah.
I'll start.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi,
Name and address.
my name is Sonia Neubauer. I'm referring to the property at 2631 Lakeshore Drive and 2633 Lakeshore Drive, corner of Plainview and Lakeshore. July, water issues to the point of about 6 inches up to the foundation. Water in the basements on both sides. It is considered a condo, but it's really a duplex for purposes of size and that sort. We've had water issues before, once in May, but the water did not get into 2633 Lakeshore Drive, it just got into 2631. I am concerned, obviously. This is a property that's been in my family and my father for years. And the last time we got water prior to that was in 2007, and I realized that yes, we had an enormous amount of rain. However, the drainage issue is really an issue. Supposedly, from what I know of the drainage situation on that particular street is that both sides drain down to French drains. There's a drain on the community center side that actually drains into over on the property on 2633. Okay, so you can imagine everybody's water now is coming down into these French drains, and it doesn't go anywhere but up and out. So this has affected my, I have it as rental property, and so does my father. Okay, so it affects my livelihood, my renters, their peace of mind, financially. You know, I don't want to have to repair everything every time it rains. That's what I have to say.
All right, thank you.
I have pictures.
Okay. Okay. Hand them up and then Ralph take them.
I would like them back when you're done.
Okay. Next. Go ahead.
Ronnie Brower, 3034 Youngdale Avenue. First, I want to start by saying thank you to Mitch and thank you to Steve Hockenberry for answering my call on Sunday regarding our property next to me at 3038 Youngdale Avenue. The gentleman is following all legal rights and everything in his building of a garage. This weekend, he put in a retaining wall that I understand is legal also. It is so high that I can't see the fence, top of the fence of my neighbor kitty corner behind me. And I was told that he's also going to put in a 6-foot fence above that retaining wall. And he's going to fill in his whole backyard up to the level of that retaining wall. I'm concerned about this. I'm not complaining because I understand it's all legal, but I'm concerned about the water issue because ever since he built his garage, he has had water in his basement. And with this last rainfall, the neighbor to the north of him had water in her basement. We've lived there for 41 years. I've had 5 owners next to me on the north end where he lives. Never have they had water. And so I'm really concerned if he's going to fill in that whole backyard, what more is going to happen in that area when water comes.
Thanks, Ron.
Yep.
Next one.
Yeah, my name is Doug Wilson, and I also own half the property on 2633 Lakeshore Drive. It's a real huge issue to us because everything drains in there. And Ralph, you were going to check and find out if those dry wells have been cleaned, because I don't think they've been cleaned in years. And the solution to the problem is put a culvert so it drains down to Baumgartner and that shoots down to the lake. Because that is a problem that has got to be solved because we can't continuously have this huge problem the way it is. Have you checked the condition of the dry wells to make sure that they're clean?
No, we haven't had the opportunity to yet because of all the storms. We're still cleaning up from the last storm. They're finishing doing some chipping today.
Is
So
it-
we should be able to get to it and at least get a look at it here.
Yeah, it's your intention to check that out?
Yes.
Okay, but it is a real issue, and now I'd like the board to consider whatever is necessary to solve this problem, because we have a huge problem. Because all the property from the top of the hill on Lakeshore Drive drains down to Plainville. So I mean, because then all the property owners up there right out to the road, so everything shoots down. So we got a huge problem.
Doug, what is your address, please?
2637.
Your address?
Yes. 26, my address is 3035 Lakeshore Drive. The property is 2633 Lakeshore Drive.
Thank you.
Next. Go ahead.
My name is Dan Atkinson. I live at 1412 Crescent Street. I'd like to address the alleyway at the Norm Lobo Park. That is a public alleyway. It's not a private alleyway. Once again, the rain washes it out. Last 3-4 years, they've graded it back, but they're only grading the sand back. We have enormous ruts in there. Kids come through there. We have kids that fall over in that. It's very difficult to drive your vehicle down. We actually had to do the shoveling of the gravel back into the holes ourselves. We've come down to the town hall here the last 3 years. We reported it gets graded back. This year we were told we have to report it to someone else, which we did call Mr. Thorne. I appreciate that, but we don't feel it's our responsibility to report the problems on the roads. It is a public access. It's gotten to the point where the aggregate is just sand now, and it's actually busted the foundation away from my garage slab. So that needs to be addressed. Also, we're also supposed to be doing all the shoveling of snow, which is a public access. I can understand clearing our areas in front of our driveway, but for the last 4 years, we've had to clear the entire alley. I understand that we're not the most important. We understand the roads are cleared first, the alleys are last, but it is public access. This has caused a really big problem, and I understand that they also built the fire practice thing there, which is great. I know the fire department needs that, but what they've built is a big rabbit hut. There's no skirting around the bottom. We're constantly running over rabbits. You hit that in the morning, there's a multitude of rabbits up there. And it's constantly being squished everywhere. Then we have to clean up out of the alley. It's pretty brave, but let you run them over. So that's something, we'll sit there. So alleyway for the gravel and the snow, and they should look at, I mean, you can't count them all. So that's our issue right now.
I did stop and look at that after I talked to you, and yeah, there's definitely a rabbit issue. There's a space in the bottom, so I will bring that up at the next fire department meeting and see if it's something that we can look at.
And
some
you know,
gravel
the
around the bottom
aggregate
or skirt or
needs to be
something.
much larger. If you just scrape the sand back, now it's not large rain that washes away, a little bit of rain, you've got huge ruts in there. Thank you.
Next. Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, first of all, Ralph, the intersection on Bainbridge and Goddard, it's a blind intersection to the north. I don't know if you noticed, but there's trees and limbs growing out there when you look to the north. It's,
Bainbridge and Goddard?
yeah,
Okay.
to the north. And I know the alley situation up on our end too is bad. I think a lot of them need looking at.
Okay. I've looked at some, but I'll take a look up in your area too.
And last month, we talked about the Fulton on fire department issues, and you said you had 2 attorneys that said that was okay for you, and you mentioned that you were going to furnish some paperwork for me.
I mentioned that I could try to, yes. If you'd let me look into that further, I will.
Yeah, I mean, I understood last month that you were gonna do that. I was waiting for him this month.
Okay, I can look into that for you.
Well, Terry, are you working on establishing a police fire personnel committee, or?
I keep thinking about it all the time. Yes, we're going to have one someday again. Just like we
It'd be
used
a
to
good thing
have.
for the town.
Yeah. I think it'd be a volunteer basis thing.
Well, probably basically to fashion it after the one that previously used to be in the town.
Okay.
That's all I have for now.
Thanks. Anybody else? Go ahead.
My name is Joel Olson, and as a family member, I'm part owner of the property at 2633 Youngdale, or Lake Shore. I live on Youngdale. That house, that duplex was built by my grandparents and my great aunt. And when they built that house there, it was plenty high. There were ditches around, and there was no properties up to the south of there, between there and the cemetery on Lake Shore Drive. As those houses were built along Lake Shore Drive, the site plans were approved, and all of the water was forced onto the road and down towards the property, towards the Little Red Schoolhouse, the community center. While unintentional, the township has allowed that property to be a place where the water runs. So they bear responsibility. Every time it rains, the people that live in that property are terrified that they're going to have water. This last big water event was an example of that. The water came up to halfway into the casement windows. So the windows are 12 inches high. Water stood 6 inches up in the window. It covered the entire lawn around there. It was unintentional what the township has done by approving the site plans. However, you cannot favor all the other properties to the detriment of this one property. Something needs to be done. I'm not sure what it is, but I do believe that the township and it's a county road, they should get together and formulate some sort of a plan, because every time it rains, like I said, the residents of that property are terrified that they're going to have water in the basement.
Thanks, Joel. Anything else? No? Next, anybody else? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Bob Wolford, 904 Susan Place, and I know that drainage has always been, or has become more of a challenge, and just trying to piece together some of the stuff for everybody. So there's a few years back, if you recall, 5, 8, the state came up with a stormwater runoff mandate requiring, so we put together a plan, I'll spare all the detail. So everybody's supposed to control their runoff, including the town. So to Doug, as much as we'd like to build a conduit to the river, if we do that, it's no longer sanctioned by the state. So you'd be in violation of your own stormwater runoff plan. So it's bureaucracy at its finest. So along that same line, though, there has always been, or I believe, a standing requirement for residents, and I think it's emphasized again in the stormwater runoff, for residents of your property to control your own runoff, and that is a requirement. So if we know where that is not, that would be the first and easiest place. That's what I'm trying to get to, potentially, to curb some of that. And I know that that's true. We fought against that at the time of approval. All that went through the county. We had an advisory input. We didn't approve. I mean, we would get it back. We could still deny the building permit, but the county had ruling capability. It's just within the last few years that we've taken on the ability to control that determination with our planning commission. So some of this is trying to get caught up is what I'm offering here. But the stormwater runoff is part of our already put in place comprehensive plan, or the stormwater plan, and that governs everybody, all residents. So if we know that this is an event and we have, this is where it gets gray. How do you know where it's coming from and whose it is, and how much are people controlling? And that's probably the enforcement part that becomes a little bit difficult. And I guess, you know, taking all this in, obviously, you know, as the board, it's an ongoing effort. And once you have these big rains, all those problem areas show up. I know there's another one over there on other side of Plainview Airport. Delray. Everybody knows. Everybody knows that one too. So, I mean, a couple of these as we've developed, you know, those lower areas have taken on that, and the French drains were an effort to try and help alleviate. But I guess you know, the ongoing maintenance, if there's going to be a certain amount that they just can't handle, I guess is what I want to say there. We're going to get to a point. Everybody, you're probably well aware of this, so I apologize if it's elementary, but they're going to overflow, and so it's trying to trap that original source or control that original source, and that was defined, I think, through rain gardens in the at the individual properties. But again, when you have these unique, 9 inches of rain, you're probably going to overflow those as well. So I just trying to set the expectation. We could definitely look after the you know, the stormwater runoff and individual residents controlling it, and I think that goes to what Ronnie was getting at as well. I mean, that is supposed to be a homeowner responsibility. So each resident has to control their own stormwater runoff. So if we maybe can look at that first, I guess I would leave that to.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And then the storm drain, obviously, because the storm drain, the French drain's already there, but
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of quick hit items where we can look at it, but again, I'm afraid that no matter what we do with the existing development, we're going to run into that situation when we have that much rain. So outside of that, I don't. I mean, anything any ideas are welcome on that plane, I guess. Other than we can't run it off into the river. So.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand the practical things that you can do. However, like I said, the town has allowed these properties to be developed. There is no containing of that water on the lands that were developed. It wasn't that way historically. As the lands were developed, the township did allow it to be developed in such a way that that water runs down into that corner. There is no way that one property generates.
Oh no, I completely agree with
water.
you. Yeah, no, I'm not debating that. I agree.
Whether it's, and I understand,
Yeah.
whether it's 7 inches or if it's 1 inch, the water all drains down there. And now that there is an area where it collects, some effort needs to be made to get it away from there. I don't know what that should be, but I believe it should be addressed.
Oh, I agree. I want to state that I know it's been an ongoing effort. I'm just trying to share that some of that we may be able to mitigate the volume that's coming down by looking at the uphill properties, which previously, historically, you know, until it all got developed, wasn't a problem. And I agree. That's true throughout the island. So, and probably pretty much everywhere, but
Rob,
yeah.
there was ditches. Before that property was developed, there was ditches all the way along.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Drive. Now there's no ditches.
And to that point, Doug, actually in our plan, we specified, one of the things that's in there is returning the ditches to the curb or to the roadside. And what has happened is, you know, various landscaping projects and whatever, and this kind of that loose easement, you know, practice where, I mean, this should be a ditch. So, I mean, it's a catch-22 because you start doing it. I mean, a lot of people are not necessarily going to like that either. So, I mean, just in the areas we've tried to do it, and so to that point, open to all things, and maybe at some point you just gotta make a determination, give it a try, see if that works, and you know, take the bullets as they come. So, But I agree with you on that.
Some different efforts too that we, incorporate there, talking to some homeowners and
Yep.
maybe working with some ditches and,
Right,
you
right.
know.
Well, and I'll leave that. I mean, now you guys got it. I just was trying to connect that two pieces. The biggest piece was I know what Joel's saying, and I agree. And it does run downhill. And that stormwater runoff plan is that sort of loose effort, but it's a double-sided sword because at the other hand, it doesn't allow you to run it off into the river anymore either. So, anyway. I digress.
Thanks, Bob. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Is it true that there's, from Baumgartner on, it's piped out into the river?
I don't know.
Not,
Steve?
Yes.
yeah, there is some storm sewer in there.
Years ago, when they first put the first cistern in there, or the well, they said if it was bothered there on the corner of Plainview and Lake Shore, that they would eventually hook up to that pipe. And that's been many years ago that they said that. Now with those wells, they put the second one in and one on her side of the house. But it's just like a water fountain. After it rains a few inches, the water bubbles up like a big fountain. That's how fast the water comes in there.
On some of those, do we have the storm sewer piped into any of those French drains? Not that I
Yeah,
know.
from the community center, there's 4 catch basins there, and they're all piped into them. In that intersection, so. When they're getting it there, it does, I can see what you're saying, it's gonna
Yeah.
do exactly what you're saying.
Next, go ahead. Come back.
Hi, I'm Kevin Candle. I live at 2620 Delray Avenue. At the corner of one of your projects to redo to help alleviate this water problem that we are having in drainage. Well, I've got pictures here and it doesn't work. We've got water in our basements. I mean, I've been there 4 years and we've had remarkable amounts of rain. I've never had water until now. These pictures were taken at 5:30 in the morning. I'm sure that my neighbors will attest that it was probably most likely higher than that because you can see red bark in the yards that morning where the water line was. I guess I don't believe that the project that you guys, not that it's your fault in any way, it's the contractor who did it, did not do it right. I think we need to go after them and have them come back and redo this because it funnels into a bowl. I mean, nothing gets past my house, or mine and Debbie Seiler's house, and Daryl's house here. It doesn't get past it. The road goes back uphill, and it all funnels down to there. It should, I would think, would run off, keep running down the road. It doesn't have to run straight down, but the road shouldn't taper up, so it just keeps coming back in. There are French drains there, but like I said, it doesn't work. The other issue I seen, not with this rain, but the rain before we had it was during the day. We had neighbor kids coming down, riding their bikes through there. In Joe's yard across from me, on the corner there, they go off the road, it's gonna be over their head. The kid's gonna drown. If I wasn't outside, and if Joe hadn't seen them and told him to get out of his yard, they could have rode their bike, fell, and they could have drowned down the corner. I mean, it'd be over their heads. I know on July that morning there, Debbie called to have it pumped out, or Daryl, one of them called, and I'm not sure what time somebody came to pump it out. I had to leave for work, so I can't test what time that was. Daryl might call them up.
My name is Gerald Schukauf. I live at 2612 Millway. I've been there almost 40 years, and that is by far 10 times worse than I've ever seen it since they put that new road. They raised the road up. They never took it into consideration for where it's going to go into the house, into the yards. I had water. Fortunate, I worked on my basement. I did not get water in my basement. I'm a little higher than they are, but I had water I got a lilac bush with bark under around it. That's 30 feet from the road, and there's water up in there. I had to wash my bark all out from underneath it. I've never seen it that bad in 40 years. So there's something got to be done with that. And I don't know, I think Debbie Sauer, she's got a business trip, but she's out of town. I think she sent you guys a letter.
Yeah, I've got it.
You got it?
Yep.
But I mean, they put in, what, 8 of those drains or tanks or whatever, and it's worse. I don't know what else to say. I said, well, I'm fortunate. I went a little bit higher and I didn't get it, but I've never seen water that high. And I said that something happened with those kids get hurt in there. Somebody's going to be in a big, tough situation.
I just want to take a moment. I'm on 2613. We're at the corner. We're all, sorry, Laura Steigerwald.
Okay.
We're at the corner, and we're the property that had, we initially had, was it 3 pumps or 3 tanks?
There's 6 in there right now.
Yeah, so we had additional tanks installed last year through the road project. They were larger. There was the system all put in, and we had a new pump, a larger pipe to pump out. And I mean, it's great if somebody comes and actually pumps, but this last time the water came all the way up to our foundation. It was touching our house and climbing. Luckily, we must have a basement made of steel or I don't know what, but it didn't come in for us. We were fortunate. But I don't want to know what that could do if it kept rising higher and higher. And we called and called and called, and nobody came until I believe it was about 10:30 the next morning. Yes. So luckily the water had started receding, obviously, as other yards and properties became less saturated. But to me, it's my first year here. It's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Not trying to minimize your problem at all. I understand. But I think the maintenance and the fire department, everybody was out all night long that night, and that's why it probably took a while for somebody to come and actually do the pump up.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I talked to Steve the next morning, you were up all night, weren't you? Running. And so he just explained to you a little bit why it took some time to get that done, but I understand.
And I get that, but it didn't get to that point.
Yeah.
Because we were up all night too, watching the water rise.
Yeah, no, I understand completely.
So, if we can be a part of any project to help in any way, I mean, I for sure would be willing to lend anything that I can offer.
Well, we'll definitely take that because that helps a lot. A lot of times when we're working on these projects, if we can get neighbors to, and residents to help with that, that helps. So we will definitely be sitting down and seeing if there's something that we can come up with as a plan, and we'll try to involve all you folks with it.
Great.
Thank you.
Is there, getting back to that, with the kid, is there any way, I mean, if you can't pump it out right, get some barricades up down there so that people don't drive through that water? Because when they're driving through it, it's pushing that water up to the houses. I mean, it's creating a way. And we've got some kids on the island that love to just right through there.
Yeah, kids and the
winter
cars.
months, they like to cut the corner down by the end.
And we did get some barricades out last time just to slow the traffic down. We could try to put more out just to minimize the traffic.
That was after 8 o'clock.
What's that?
About 5 hours after everything happened.
Yeah.
And then they put barricades. I mean, it was really, everybody tried to call, no response, no nothing. And I mean, they've been pumping that corner for 40 years. They put in this stuff and they come home and they pumped it 4 times since they put it in. And somebody should know.
Yeah.
I mean, that should be on one of your lists. I mean, when you did the road, they ranked that number 3 or 4 of the worst sections in the town of Campbell. You would think that would be one of the first ones they start looking at.
We can try to consider putting that into a plan. It's not a bad idea.
Thank you.
Can we go ask the contractor to figure out what they did or didn't do? I mean, because this is obviously worse. I mean, I guess my question is, what are we going to do moving forward from here? Do we need to talk to the contractors? I mean, because I got lost in my house. I mean, I basically got to gut my basement. My neighbor has to gut her basement. I mean, and you're saying it's our responsibility for the runoff. Well, the runoff has never been that bad until the town took it and went to a private contractor to try and fix something, and now it's worse. So I believe that the town took on the responsibility of all this runoff that we have. You know, partially, you know, if I got to, bring in fill, get it to slope back out, then I guess that's probably what I'll have to do. That's not what I want. I want the contractor to do it right. I mean, our tax money went to paying for this, you know, throughout the island, for something that would help make the island a better place to live, raise our values, and everything else.
How long have the catch basins been in there, do you know, Steve?
Catch basins, I just put a bunch of new ones in there.
In that area?
They put 4 in, I live at 2613 Delray. They put 4 in this fall, and they've had 2 of them in there for
Long time.
probably 15 years.
Yeah.
And my dad's lived there since '83, I think, and he's never had that problem where it's gone up that high. And they've always came out and pumped too.
Yeah, so, and I wasn't here, and I know that depending on rainfall, I mean, we were always out there pumping, and, you know, if I'm here, and I know we get spread pretty thin, the on-call guy. So, the on-call guy gets, I just want to gauge it a little bit. I don't know how much rain, I wasn't here, I don't know how much rain they had. It sounded like a lot.
Yeah, over 5 inches in 12 hours. It was a historic event.
So I just want to kind of temper, I don't know that we're ever going to, set the expectation. I don't know we're ever going to know what fails until you have that again. So the flip side, what you're saying about pumping it out over the years, the decades, I completely agree. We've been doing it for all the time I've been on the board. And when I was on the fire department, I know you guys are probably still doing it. Maintenance department is always a lot of times out there doing it. In some of those situations where you're calling, I don't know what the number is you're calling, 911, or is it?
I almost did because I didn't know what else to do.
You're calling. So you're calling town hall, or?
I was supposed to call Ralph. He told me to call him if we ever had a problem.
Okay.
I couldn't get a hold of anyone. I called the fire department. I know that's all volunteer stuff.
Yeah. So if you guys are out on calls, you're not going to get.
Yeah, and I guess the way I guess I would word that is, and I got up in the morning and had missed calls on my phone, and I think I called you right away, or I called Joe.
That's what I called.
Okay. But if you're feeling like you're in an emergency situation, don't hesitate. Because at least then, I mean, because there was some.
Well, I mean, if we call 911, who are they going to call?
They'll page
the fire department, and they can come out and look at things, and they have phone numbers and stuff where they can get a hold of folks if need be, and that would expedite some of that stuff. And I know I told you to call me if we had issues.
Right.
I guess I didn't. We should have talked about it a little bit more, extensively about what that meant. I didn't expect giant storms that we can predict when they come. But
right.
So yeah, at any time, if you're feeling that you're in some kind of an emergency situation,
first time I've ever seen water entirely surround my house.
Yeah,
I've never seen it like that.
And I remember talking with when in May, of course, we talked with those other storms.
Right.
And, this one was much worse. But
right, and it's one storm that doesn't happen very often, but it still happens.
Yeah, so I mean, that would be my recommendation, is if we're in a situation like that again, don't hesitate. Because they'll put a page out, and then the fire department will have that page, and then they can arrive on scene and kind of make a call from there.
I know they put that 6-inch pipe hooked up to one of those French drains, so it makes it a lot easier for them to come in and pump it out. So
yeah,
I don't know how many pumps you guys have, but
you just hook up one to it, don't you? When you come to it.
That's our only one big pump. Yeah.
Right.
In the fire department,
are there any other ones that have a drain like that that's hooked up to it, or
that's a unique one we put in there to test it, see how it all worked out there.
I mean, it works great. It drains in about 30 minutes, as long as there's a pump there.
A little longer than that.
Well, I know.
Fairly quickly.
Yeah.
When that first storm came through, everything drained out fairly quickly. In May, I was surprised in the morning how quick everything was going.
I mean, with the drains that we have in there, they do hold a lot of water, but the next door neighbor's isn't working.
Yep.
In Thompson's yard.
Yeah.
And
that's the one that we looked at, isn't it, Steve? That Scott grabbing those guys looked at a little bit yet.
It isn't working, so I don't know what you mean.
It doesn't. They put those paints in and they have put that 2-foot corrugated pipe in there, to seep through the ground and stuff, and their yard fills up instantly, and ours doesn't, and neither does the other neighbors. I don't know why.
See, they're made to fill up. And that's what they do. And
Right, but ours-
Then they drain away slowly.
But
And when
theirs
they were-
fills up like right away.
When they were digging that out, that's like they were digging in clay. It's very poor for drainage. They dug out as much as they could. We filled as much in with rock as we could versus filling it back in with dirt.
Right.
We're stuck to being in the right of way too. So,
Yeah.
you know, earlier in the year, like when I talked to your wife, we wanted to see how they work right away.
Right.
And they seem like, in a smaller rain, they seem to work pretty well.
Yeah, they do. Yes.
It's just if it's compounded day after day and the higher rains, which we can't help that,
Correct.
so then there needs to be some other intervention put in place.
And that's something that we need to talk with Ralph on. I agree. Come up with a protocol on when to do and when not to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
Well, apparently somebody was there, they got a truck sitting out there now, and they had some, with a digger and everything, I don't know if they hadn't started or anything, but there was.
Like kitty corner for
Right up
me?
the street and right across the corner in front of the house.
Okay.
There was somebody there, they didn't do anything yet, but they left some equipment sitting there, so.
Okay.
Well, they're in town working on a punch list.
Yeah. So some of that'll get looked at yet. But,
And one of the drains there has a problem where the dirt's draining into it, so it needs to be taken care of. So.
that might be what you're talking about. They might be there looking at that.
Yeah, there were 3 or 4 trucks went up the road and they come back on.
Okay.
Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
Gary Simonson, 128 Locust. Have to agree with Bob on the putting ditches in front of houses. I've been here since there were sandburrs all over the place. Long time. And every place had ditches in front of it. The water drained away or sat in the ditches and went away like the French drains do now. However, a lot of people think more of their lawn than do their firstborn child, I think, so they don't want you to put ditch in front of their house, but my God, something's going to happen to it. So that you have to start putting ditches back in so water has a place to go and it seeps away. And then if that's a route you're going to take, rather than put curb and gutter everywhere for billions, and that's the best way to go, I think, for now. So it worked in the past, it should be working now.
Thanks, Gary. Anybody else? Go ahead.
But it sounds like I was super fortunate. I didn't have any water problems. Last month I asked about putting the audio of these recordings or of the meetings on the website. What's the status of that?
We can put the recordings on the website, but according to state statute, we are not allowed to because they are not approved minutes.
Not that we're not allowed to. I chose not to.
That chose not to.
So why did you choose not to?
I feel that sometimes the meetings can get a little bit lengthy and things are said in there that don't need to be necessarily made public. Statutorily, the minutes that are created from those are the legal document. Legally, I can delete them after these minutes are approved.
But statutorily, this hearing is not necessary. You don't have to do it either. You do it as a courtesy.
Correct.
So wouldn't putting it on the website also for people who can't make it to these meetings because of time or children or something, wouldn't that make it more convenient as well?
I understand that.
Convenience is a nice thing for our government to have when we all don't have the ability to be involved in it.
And I understand where you can be frustrated. I made a decision. I would hope that you would respect the decision that I made as a clerk. And it is my right to or not publish on that. I just think it's a little overkill. At some point, legislation may change that will allow for these recordings to act as the minutes. And at that point, I know that there's been talk about that, but right now, again, I appreciate it. I took it under advisement. I did ask a couple other people, and I chose not to. And I would hope that you would respect my decision.
I will keep asking every month if you've changed your mind.
That's fine.
Do we have any street projects other than trying to fix what we currently have? Because apparently now our residents are coming to fix their own streets.
We're working on a drainage project down on Elm Street. Here's the laundromat. We've been out and filled potholes through the whole island, from the south side to the north side. We're working on the punch list right now with Gerke and Cedar Corp to finish up the projects from last year and look at some improvements that we can maybe do with some of that. Am I missing anything?
I think down Usher Street, we're gonna be working with the business owners to do a job there.
So, yeah, it has been a slow-moving summer. Getting my feet wet a little bit and getting started. But yeah, there's some stuff in progress.
Okay.
That's it. Anybody else?
Just to follow up on the water problems, I understand there's some all over the island. What are the remedies for those water problems? Is that something you have to have a study on? Do you have 5 go-to things that you do? How do you go about doing it? Because, I guess what I don't want to have happen is we come here and everybody expresses their concerns and then nothing happens. It gets pushed to the back. Because it is a situation now that every time it does rain, these properties, all the other nice houses drain their water down to this corner. And I think this is a very important thing. I just am wondering, what are the things that you do? Because I don't know. Other than smile and nod your head and be sympathetic, which is fine, and I appreciate that, but I'd like to find out what things you are going to do about it.
And I don't think there's any just small, simple solution to them. There's a lot of them on the island, and if we're going to solve them all, I mean, there's some talk of putting ditches in, and that's probably, we've had some discussions, probably one of the cheapest way to do it, but even the cheapest way to do it is a fairly expensive project. I mean, we could definitely do a study and get some numbers as to what it would take to do that. But with anything, there's a burden on it's going to take money to do it. So if it's there's only so much there. I mean, we can slowly pick at them, which is kind of what we've been doing, and it takes a while. And some of them that we've worked on, we might have to look back at and try to look at again, or we try to bite a bunch off at once by looking at it, and if that means a referendum or increase in taxes, or if they want to take care of it. I don't. Does anybody else have an answer for that?
I think you got to put it in a priority, obviously, Joel. And so we've got a couple of areas that we know that I've always been the earlier conversation. I mean, we may have to, it may get to the point where you just have to legislate requirement or implement the ditches. And again, those, you hate to do willy-nilly, so you have to have some sort of engineering and some sort of hydrology input into it, because we've done some of the stuff in the past already in these neighborhoods, and it failed to accommodate this recent overflow. So part of that's going to be reviewing, okay, well, why is it a Gerke or whoever? I don't want to call it a construction issue. Is it a hydrology? Where's the failure, or how can you change the existing? And then it comes down to obviously budget and money, where you get the money and how much it's going to cost, and where do you put the water. So that's where a little bit of that review comes in, I guess, from a hydrology standpoint, or hydrologist, or basically Dave, engineering. I mean, that's who we usually go to on a lot of our stuff in the past. And some of it, a lot of it does work when you kind of forget about it. These ones, I guess, you just have to put them on the priority or the list and see what you can do quick and easy, and what's going to be a greater project.
Anything legally binding for your ownership of your property to be responsible for your water runoff? Because I know in La Crescent that's the case, and I know somebody that had extensive water damage his neighbor had to pay for it because of the way he constructed and landscaped his property.
I believe that it is, and that's something, I mean, we have to, I mean, I will say for an immediate action item, that would be one for review, and so.
So do we have anything on the books for that you're responsible when you purchase this plot of land? You build it?
I have not seen anything on the ordinances that would require you to be responsible, although I do know it hasn't been that long that La Crosse County has adopted erosion control and stormwater management as well. They do require you to maintain 85% of your runoff through the use of ditches. Rain gardens are a big thing as of late in the eco-friendly world. But we don't personally, other than ordinances that do, there are still ordinances on the book that do require the ditches to be in everybody's front yard.
Right. So here's to that point, and this again is we kind of migrate into this potential incorporated village. We end up taking on a little bit more of that, and that's the requirement. One of the steps was controlling our own zoning. So a lot of that stuff, when you're talking about it, Joel and Doug, I mean, everybody probably aware that that was approved, but it was at the county level, and so therefore, I mean, from a local community, we always ended up owning the problem after it was already approved, and that's kind of where we're at still. We have the ability now going forward to do a little bit more of that, to control that, and there's not a whole lot of development left on the island, but I know that I can use anecdotally, the development to our south came at great contention because the person who retired with the county, unfortunately, was adamant about that. They were adopting that, so we left the ditches between our properties running to the back and left it low, coat landscape, but no retaining walls. They forced a settling area, I guess is the best way to put it, rain garden, whatever you want to call it, low spot in the properties where it all goes down. And as much as we maybe were initially in support of it, it works. No matter how much rain we get, it fills up, and you don't have that water around each other's property. But everybody adheres to it. And as property owners change, that may change as well. People landscape and retaining walls go in, and that changes the flow of water. So that is where I look at the town from a policy standpoint. That is incumbent on us, and I guess it's a partnership with. It's your guys'. It's your town. It's our town. And how we want to solve that, and. Nobody's ever completely happy, I guess, is the short answer. So if we put ditches in, there'll be a bunch of people here that don't want ditches, and we just have to try and sort through that, I guess. But keep in mind the bigger picture of what we're trying to accomplish for the community.
Hearing out what you guys are saying, you basically say the homeowner is responsible for their own runoff. Theoretically, you're saying the homeowner is responsible for the runoff.
The state of Wisconsin's saying that, but yes.
But now, what happened to that water, and he said kids were out there, who is responsible if something happened to that child out there? The homeowner?
Well, I'm not even, that I don't even, I can't even, I hear that argument, I hear that conversation with just about everything, and my short answer is I don't know the answer to it. If my kid's out riding through the street and the water's too deep, he should not be out there riding through the street. And so,
But they're riding down a hill or coming from all over, just what happened? God forbid, I hope nothing ever happens.
I did the same thing when I was a kid. When we got flood water, I used to ride my way and just lift your feet up and try and get through the puddle.
Just curious on what
right? I'm just saying
it's garbage fault, but yet whose fault is something happened?
Yeah.
I think that's a question somebody should find out.
Yeah,
Lakeshore Drive is a county road. What about the county helping cost sharing?
Absolutely. All cards are on the table on that.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, but Lakeshore Drive is a county company, and originally, when I got my building permit, this is back in 1956, 6, that it was required that ditches were to be, and also underneath your driveway, you were supposed to have a culvert.
Right.
And that was back then.
Go ahead, Joanne. In the back. My
Gwen
right.
Scheller across the street here. We do have a ditch in front of our yard. It's okay, it works to a certain extent when all the dirt flows down the road and comes in there and it's clogged up. And we did get rain this last rain in our basement. We had about 6 inches. So I feel for everybody, I know what you feel like.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Jeff Bellamy, 1503 Caroline Street. I was on the road committee that made the recommendation to the board. The pictures that are here tonight, I think, should be turned over to the company that did the road work. And then have a special meeting with the people that live in the area or residents and make a decision on what should be done. You've heard the facts, so the people that are concerned about it, let's take and get back to the company that made the construction work on the road and let them tell the people what they're going to do for the money that they were paid to do the street work by showing them the pictures that were there before they made the construction and what's taking place now. I observed the water that I've seen up there. I would be concerned too. But what can we do now? That's going to be up to them. They made the work, they did it, they should fix it. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Anybody else?
I agree.
I just gotta say thanks to everybody that worked this weekend on that fun run and rocking the docks. So seems like everyone pretty smooth, I guess. Didn't hear anything. So. Anybody else? I guess can I get a motion to call the public hearing?
So moved.
I'll second that. I got a motion by Bob, second by Terry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Let's move down to the consent agenda. Items A through C. If there's no action taken, can I get a motion to accept?
Move to approve the consent agenda as listed.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Bob and a second by Mitch. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Let's move down to business 5A. Resolution 2017-1 to amend Town of Campbell fee schedule related to appeals to CSM condo plats and CSM minor condo plat administrative review. Chad?
This was just kind of an extension of what we did last month to approve the ordinance for the zoning change. This is to just update our fee schedule to reflect those changes, and as you can see, the new application just also reflects the new pricing for those reviews. I did throw in there, and I did talk with Supervisor Craig a little bit. Community center rentals, refundable security deposits has always been set at $75. Us in the office, we've always had a little confusion from people that come in and give us a security deposit, and then when they do the 4-hour rental, it's also a $75 fee. They tend to think that they've already paid for it. Just kind of looking to maybe just change that up a little bit so people aren't quite so confused what the difference between the security deposit is and what the rental fee is. So those are the only two things that I was looking for. And again, the zoning stuff was just to correlate with the ordinance change from last month.
Anybody got any questions?
Good.
Can I get a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept resolution number 2017-1.
Second. Motion by Mitch and a second by Bob. Any further discussion? I'll call a motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Let's move down to 5E. La Crosse Area Family YMCA request to hold annual Maple Leaf Walk Run on September 30th, 2017. Chad?
I don't remember exactly how many years this has been going on. Lots. Really kind of, again, more of a formality from the county. They've applied for their parade permit for the run walk, and as you can see, it does go through all county roads, so it doesn't actually hit any of the town roads, but it does run through the municipalities, so they do ask for at least an approval. Unless we have real objections to the run, they will approve it regardless. So I don't know, did anybody talk to you? I mean, you've been here for the years, Adam. There hasn't been any issues with that?
They usually bang that out and they're gone by the time most people. I mean, they do a pretty good job of it.
Yeah.
Historically. Yeah. So.
Anybody any questions?
No.
No. Can I get a motion then?
I'll move to approve the request for the Maple Leaf Walk Run on September 3rd.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Bob and a second by Ralph. Any further discussion? I'll call a motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. We'll go into public comment. Can I get a motion to go into public comment, please?
So moved. So moved.
I'll second that. I have a motion by Bob and a second by Terry. Any further discussion? Call a motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. We're in public comment. Anybody?
Feels like a boomerang a little bit, doesn't it?
I got a couple of things, Terry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, somebody else? Why?
Ronnie up first.
Ronnie Brower again. I meant to ask before. I was told that the neighbor who built this garage next to me has 2 years to finish the garage. Who checks up on that? Who knows that the 2 years is up?
Our building inspector, Jim Webb. He is very diligent in his timeline. So
Okay.
we actually just had an issue like that where we did have to reissue a building permit for a gentleman on Central Road. So.
Okay. Thanks.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Thanks. Mitch, on the north end of the maintenance building, when they put the new siding on there, did anybody look at that where it's been leaking all these years to see if there's any mold or mildew or the 2x4s that are studying and brought it out before they put the new on?
I think they looked at all the timbers. That was one of the things I asked them to do. And they didn't report back to me that any needed to be replaced.
You'd almost think there'd be some mold and mildew in there after all these years, because I know last summer the water was running across the floor just like a creek.
Yeah. I personally didn't see any. Steve, you?
No, I didn't get to see it open either.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
I like you, whatever. We relied on what they said,
And I relied on them
was
too.
there when they were doing it. So.
I told them to call me if any problems had developed, if we needed to replace any of the timbers, rafters, anything in there. So.
How about the concrete paving on the lot out here? What's the status on that?
Gonna have to be a budget item for next year.
Nothing's going to be done this year?
I don't think so. There was no movement on the board to tap into the reserves for it. So.
Was that on the agenda at all?
Yeah, I think it was a couple of months ago. It was on the agenda and got tabled basically. So that's something I'll be putting into the budget for next year.
When we put it back on to try it again, huh?
Yep.
I mean,
no, that was in June, I think. So, yeah, that it got tabled. So
we'll have to put up with it for another year. Huh?
Well, sometime until next year, probably. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else?
I do. Kelsey Craig, 2500 First Avenue East. I just want to say that the new park equipment is going in at church. It's actually up. So big thank you to the maintenance crew for getting the old stuff out. So the new stuff could be installed yesterday and today. The swing set will be put in late this week or next week. I know they got some issues that came up. So, but there'll be new park equipment. So take all your kids or grandkids or niece or nephews or neighbors and go play on it. I'm excited.
Me too.
Anybody else?
A quick announcement, if you could. Just want to pass something on. Ron Chamberlain sent out an email to everybody I don't know if anybody was familiar that as of last month, they were going to be doing some projects on Clinton Street to bringing that down to a 2-lane road again with the center turn lane and some bike lanes in there. The project got delayed due to some back ordering of the signal at Rose and Clinton. They are still going to be doing it, according to the email. That's scheduled for the week of August 21st now, just so everybody is aware that that project is still going to happen apparently. So I know, darn is right.
You could call the county and voice your concern
Yes,
over it.
more than welcome to call the county.
We have a large crowd here tonight, so.
That kind of goes into the complaint department over in garbage can.
Yeah.
So that whole thing will be single lane.
Single lane
Why
in
are they
each.
redoing it?
They
put in bike lanes.
They had a Safe Routes to School grant that they had obtained, and my understanding is now they have to spend it, so, or give it back, I think.
So is the bridge gonna be still 2-lane then, or?
No, the whole Clinton Street all the way up to
It'll be 2 lanes with a left turn lane down the middle, much like Mormon Cooley Road or Losey,
like
where
a
you got
median
that.
sort of thing?
Yeah, median left turn lane all the way through it with bike lanes on each side that begin on Bainbridge and end on Clinton, which is, in my opinion, ridiculous. But
we got the money, so we're going to spend it on something crazy.
What did they do last fall along Clinton Street there? They were putting something in there.
They were putting a gas line in.
Gas line,
Yeah.
6-inch main.
Joanne?
Is that what was going on when they had the barrels and stuff out there last time?
Yeah, yep, they were.
All going, they didn't do anything?
Right, yeah, but then they pulled them, apparently according to this, that they had some signals for the Rose and Clinton Street intersection that were back ordered, so they postponed it basically. Margaret?
Hi, I'm Margaret Larson, 1924 Nokomis, and I'm the county supervisor for the 14th district, which is most of French Island. So what you're reporting is what's going on. It's a grant that was applied for, I think, 3 years ago. And it's been delayed because of the signal equipment that's going to be installed at Rose and Clinton. And I've only heard negative comments from people who have talked to me about it, and I've reported all of those.
Well, we gave you some more tonight. Thank you. Some additional input for you to take back.
I guess I'm of the mind to see how the traffic flow works. I mean, since well, we don't know that yet. That's what we expect it will be, but we don't know. So we shall see what happens, and if it creates problems.
I have an absolute request, Margaret. I mean, legit, if they could at least wait until the interstate project is done, it may get an accurate measurement. But right now, they've already punched a bunch of traffic down across the town, and a lot of people are using that as a main thoroughfare to restrict it.
Bainbridge to Clinton.
Yeah. Now to restrict it to 1 lane and put construction on top of it for the people that live here. The interstate's already, you got challenges there. I mean, that's our 2 main arteries on and off the island.
Right.
So, I mean, they've held off this long. Well, what about a little bit longer?
Do we have any idea when the interstate project is going to be done at Rose Street?
No, it was moving right along, but of late it seems to have ground to a halt. So I know they have to raise up the other 2 lanes on 53 going north there, and then build the ramps that'll hook up to that. So, but I don't know. It's kind of ground to a halt lately.
I haven't been privy to one of those project meetings for a while, so I forget exactly when the end date was scheduled for that. I thought it was 2018 sometime.
It was 2018.
But they'll be going in next year, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I know the Safe Routes to School grant request was before my time on the county board. Did they involve the town at all in that?
No,
Just
they
the
did
school
not.
district? Okay.
Pretty usual operating mode.
Well, I'll see about your suggestion.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if we could at least get past the construction phase, and then you'll at least get somewhat of an accurate assessment of true traffic flow.
Okay. And for the rest of you, if you ever have any comments, questions, complaints, I've got business cards here with
Yes.
my phone number and email, and you can also find that on the County of New Brunswick website. Margaret Larson.
Thanks for coming, Margaret.
Thank you.
Wouldn't miss it.
Anybody else? Diane? Anybody else? Can I get a motion to close the public comment?
Regretfully move to close public. No, I don't. That's right. Move to close.
I'll second that. I got a motion by Bob, and a second by Terry. Any further discussion? I'll call a motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. That concludes our business. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion by Mitch and a second by Kelsey. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. We are done. Thank you.